For 12 years, every Friday, Maria ironed the same dress army uniform. The tenant in room 4B paid her $5. He never wore it. He never explained. 2 silver stars sat on the ribbon bars, gleaming under the steam.
Every Friday, 12 years. And not once has he put it on.
She took it from his closet, ironed it in the basement, then hung it back like a museum piece.
He pays me $5. That's all. No explanation.
The creases had to be sharp. His only instruction. The man who wore that uniform sat in his room, staring out the window, never mentioning the war. When she finished, she carried it upstairs and knocked. He'd open the door, inspect the uniform, then slip her the $5.
But today felt different. Today the silence was heavier.
Maria's own husband had worn a uniform like that. He came home from Vietnam and never spoke a word about it for 31 years. She watched him carry that silence. Then he died, leaving her with nothing but his folded flag and a photograph.
When I press this uniform, I remember his hands. The way they shook sometimes.
She never asked Samuel about his medals. She didn't need to. She already knew what they cost. Every Sunday, she visited her husband's grave. She sat there and talked to him about the rooming house, the tenants, the uniform.
Maybe that's why I stay. In this house, someone else is still carrying the war.
She finished ironing, hung the uniform, and stepped back. The silver stars caught the light.
2 of them. Whatever he did, it must have been terrible and brave.
But she never asked. Some silences are a kind of armor, and she had worn her own for decades.
And tomorrow is Friday. He'll pay me $5, and I'll iron it again.
Friday morning, Maria climbed the narrow stairs to room 4B, the dress uniform still holding the basement cold. She knocked twice. From inside, Samuel's voice slid under the door, thinner than the week before.
Come in, Maria.
The room was bright with winter sun. Samuel sat in his armchair, a wool blanket wrapped around his legs, despite the radiator's hiss. He gestured for the uniform. His hands shook as he took it. He pulled a folded $5 bill from his shirt pocket and pressed it into her palm. The paper trembled.
You don't have to keep paying me, Mr. Cross. Not when you are feeling poorly.
I pay for what I need, and I need the uniform ready.
Maria looked at the ribbon bars, those 2 silver stars. She swallowed the questions.
He's worse. I need to watch him closer.
She had taken only a few steps down the hall when a dull, heavy thud shook the floorboards under her feet. She spun, pushed the door open, and found Samuel crumpled beside his armchair, one hand still reaching for the uniform.
Mr. Cross, are you hurt?
Number. Just lost my balance. Help me up.
She hooked her arms under his and lifted. He weighed nothing. Bones and old wool, held together by something harder than flesh. Once he was in the chair. His hand shot out and clamped around her wrist, the grip surprisingly strong.
Promise me, no matter what happens, you keep ironing that uniform. Every Friday. You don't stop.
I promise, Mr. Cross. I'll iron it every Friday, until you tell me to stop.
She closed the door, pressed her back against the wall, and stood there in the dim hallway, fighting the urge to pray. The next morning, Maria was sweeping the lobby when a long black Lincoln Town car rolled to a stop in front of the house. The rear passenger door opened, and a figure stepped out, tall, ramrod, straight, every inch of him wrapped in the formality of a 4-star general's uniform. Through the glass, Maria saw the stars on each shoulder catch the morning sun. She stopped sweeping.
4 stars. That man is a 4-star general. What is he doing on Beacon Street?
The general pushed open the front door. The little brass bell above it chimed, and the sound cut through the quiet like a blade.
I am looking for room 4B.
Maria's throat tightened. She wanted to ask why, but her mouth wouldn't move.
Upstairs. Last door on the left.
She set her broom against the wall and led him toward the staircase. The general followed without a word, his boots heavy on the creaking floorboards. On the 4th floor, she stopped outside room 4B. The air felt thick. She knocked. From inside, the sound of a chair scraping. Slow footsteps. Then the lock clicked and the door opened. Samuel's eyes widened. The color bled from his face. For a long moment he didn't seem to breathe.
Sergeant Cross.
The words hung in the air like smoke. Samuel swayed, one hand gripping the door frame. The general stepped forward, his military bearing dissolving. His arms opened. Samuel collapsed into the embrace. Two old soldiers clutching each other in a doorway, 53 years after they last stood together. Maria pressed her palm to her chest. The broom she had been holding clattered to the floor. She knew in that instant that this was not a casual visit. This was a reckoning with something older than the walls.
Who is this man that calls him sergeant? 53 years, and he never once spoke of it.
The embrace stretched on, wordless and profound. Neither man seemed willing to let go. Tears streamed down both faces, and Maria felt like an intruder on sacred ground. They pulled apart. The general guided Samuel to his armchair, then pulled up a wooden stool to sit knee to knee with him.
I've searched for you for 53 years, Sam. I never stopped.
You shouldn't have come. I am nobody.
The general shook his head. He leaned forward, refusing to let the distance grow again.
You are the reason I am alive. That rice paddy, the ambush. You dragged me out under fire.
Samuel waved a hand, as if brushing away a fly.
That was a long time ago. Any sergeant would have done the same.
Number, they wouldn't have. You carried me 200 yards through mud with a bullet in your shoulder. I felt that every day for 53 years.
Maria stood in the doorway, a witness to a debt she was only beginning to understand.
2 silver stars. Now, I know one of them was for that day, but there's still something he's not saying.
The general shifted on the wooden stool. He drew a breath, as if steeling himself for a blow.
Sam, the army wants to give you something. Something you should have received a long time ago.
I don't want anything. I told you, I am nobody.
It's not a gift, it's an honor. One the army should have given you before we even came home.
Samuel's eyes narrowed. He looked from the general to the closet, where the uniform hung, then back again.
Is this about medals? Because I don't need more of those. I got 2 already.
The general paused. When he spoke again, his voice was quiet.
Yes, it's about a medal. One that was lost, buried in paperwork before it ever reached you.
Samuel turned his face away toward the window. His shoulders shook once, then stilled.
A lost medal. After all these years. What kind of honor waits 53 winters to find a man?
The general reached into his breast pocket and withdrew a small blue velvet box. He pried it open. The Distinguished Service Cross gleamed like something still alive.
This is the Distinguished Service Cross. Your recommendation was written by me on a muddy sheet of paper in April 1971. It was lost in a file warehouse for 53 years. A historian found it 6 months ago.
Samuel's throat moved, but no sound came. His eyes were fixed on the medal.
The Army convened a review board last month. They voted unanimously to approve it, so here it is.
I don't want a medal for doing my job.
This isn't for you to want or not want. This is for the country to do what it should have done long ago.
Maria watched from the doorway. Her heart ached for both of them.
3 medals now. 3 reasons he never slept, and he kept it all inside.
Men died in my arms while I lived. What I did doesn't deserve a medal. It deserves an apology to their families.
The Army doesn't honor survival. It honors sacrifice. What you did was beyond duty.
I've been carrying their faces for 53 years. That's decoration enough.
Those men would not want you to turn this into punishment. They'd want you to accept it for them.
Samuel rose from his chair, his body trembling with a fury that surprised even him. He turned to the window, his back a wall.
You weren't there when the medics couldn't fix what was missing, when the letters went home with nothing inside.
I've spent my career trying to fix what can be fixed. This, at least, can be done now.
Done for whom? For me or for the Army's conscience?
The question hung in the air, thick as gun smoke. Neither man had an easy answer. In the doorway, Maria cleared her throat. Then she took a step forward. She stopped midway between the door and the chair, her voice low but steady.
Mr. Cross, I've ironed this uniform 624 times, every Friday for 12 years. You never told me why. I never asked, but I trusted it mattered, because I know what a uniform like that can carry.
Her voice broke. She spoke of her father, a man she never knew except in a photograph.
My daddy died in a war, left a uniform, just like yours. I never got to hear his voice. Honor isn't only for the living, it's for everyone who believed in what that uniform stood for. Please, Mr. Cross, accept this medal, not for yourself, for the little girl who never got to bury her father.
Samuel didn't speak. His hands, clenched at his sides, slowly relaxed. The general turned his head away, his own eyes wet. Samuel turned back from the window. His face was raw, but his eyes held a kind of surrender he hadn't allowed before.
All right. If you want me to wear it, I will.
You don't have to put it on. We can pin it to the uniform as it hangs.
Samuel nodded once, a sharp jerk of his chin. He looked at the closet, at the uniform, waiting.
Then do it. Pin it on the uniform.
The general stood. He turned to Maria, who still stood halfway into the room.
Mrs. Davis, will you serve as the official witness to this presentation?
Maria straightened, her hands steady on her apron. She looked at Samuel, then back at the general.
I would be honored.
The general pulled a folded document from his pocket and laid it on the small table. The general took the uniform from the closet. He laid it across the bed, smoothing the fabric one last time.
For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of life, above and beyond the call of duty, on the 15th of April, 1971, Sergeant Samuel Cross, while serving as platoon sergeant, carried wounded comrades to safety under heavy enemy fire, disregarding his own wounds.
The words filled the room. Maria stood rigid, her apron pressed flat against her chest. Samuel sat on the edge of the bed, his hands covering his face.
For this act of extraordinary heroism, the Army of the United States finally recognizes what it should have honored 53 years ago.
The general took the medal from its box. The pin slid into the fabric with a small, precise click. Beside the 2 silver stars, the Distinguished Service Cross now gleamed.
624 Fridays. And now I know why.
The general stepped back. For a moment, no one spoke. The general drew himself to attention. His right hand rose in a crisp salute toward the uniform on the bed. Then he turned and faced Samuel. The same salute, held steady. Samuel pushed himself upright, his legs trembling. Slowly his arm came up, the hand that had ironed nothing but paid for everything. And he returned the salute. For a full minute they stood that way, the general and the sergeant, bound by a debt no words could settle. Maria wiped her eyes. The general lowered his arm, then gestured to the document on the table.
Mrs. Davis, your signature if you please.
She stepped forward, took the pen, and wrote her name on the witness line. The paper was official and cold.
Maria Davis. Just a cleaning lady, but today I was here.
The general folded the document and returned it to his pocket. Then he turned back to Samuel. Without a word, they embraced once more, this time not in shock, but in peace. The general left with a promise to return in spring. His car pulled away from the curb, a dark shape vanishing into Boston traffic. Maria helped Samuel back to his armchair. He was lighter than ever, but his eyes were clear.
Thank you, Maria, for everything. I think I'll rest now.
She closed his door gently and stood in the hallway a moment, listening to his shallow breathing. Over the next 2 weeks, she checked on him each day. He ate little, spoke less, but seemed settled, at peace. On the 15th morning, she carried up a fresh towel and knocked. No answer. She pushed the door. He lay in bed, the blanket pulled to his chest, his face turned slightly to the window. A faint smile curved his lips. She touched his hand. It was cold. She didn't pull away.
You are with your men now, Sergeant Cross. No more night patrols.
The room was quiet. The uniform hung in the closet, its newest metal catching the first light of dawn. After the coroner left, Maria returned to room 4B. The uniform waited like a silent promise. She lifted it from the hanger and laid it on the bed, smoothing the sleeves. She carried her ironing board up from the basement and set it in the center of the small room. The iron hissed. She pressed the fabric in slow, deliberate strokes, the way she had for 12 years. Around the new metal she moved the iron with extra care, letting the steam lift but never touch the ribbon.
One last pressing, Mr. Cross. One last Friday.
She hung the uniform back on the closet door, the 3 metals aligned like a final verdict. She found the number the general had left and dialed. His aide answered, then his voice, rough with grief.
General Kane, it's Maria. Mr. Cross passed peacefully this morning. The uniform is ready.
On the other end, a long silence, then a quiet thank you. Maria hung up and looked at the uniform one more time. 3 days later, Arlington lay under a steel-gray sky. Maria sat alone in the front row of folding chairs. The horse-drawn caisson carried the flag-draped casket along the narrow road, the general walking behind. A lone bugler raised his instrument. The first mournful notes of taps curled over the field. The flag was lifted from the casket, held taut by 6 white gloves. The folding began. One fold, then another. A precise, deliberate triangle emerging until only blue field and stars remained. The general received the folded flag from the honor guard and walked to Maria.
Maria Davis, on behalf of a grateful nation, please accept this flag as a token of your loved one's service.
She reached out. Her fingers closed around the stiff cotton and she pulled it to her chest.
Thank you for finding him.
The general nodded, eyes wet. She clutched the flag to her heart, and the drummer began the final roll. The mourners drifted away, leaving Maria alone beside the open grave. The casket sat silent, draped in flowers. She knelt and placed a single white rose on the lid. Her lips moved, but only the wind caught the first words.
Mr. Cross, I hope you found your brothers on the other side. I hope they welcomed you home. I'll keep ironing, not your uniform, but whatever needs pressing. That's my way of remembering. Thank you for letting me be part of it. For trusting me with those $5 Fridays.
She stood, her knees stiff, and brushed the dirt from her skirt. The rose lay against the flag. She looked at the headstone. Samuel T. Cross, Sergeant, U.S. Army, and the dates that spanned a lifetime of silence.
A whole life, and the world never knew. But I knew. I knew enough.
She turned from the grave and walked slowly along the path, the rows of white stones stretching into the gray distance. Behind her, the uniform lay finally at rest, its newest metal gleaming under the folded flag. That evening, the bus dropped her at the Beacon Street house. The key turned in the lock, the same as always. She climbed the stairs slowly, her hand trailing the banister. The hallway was dark, but she didn't need a light. The door to room 4B stood ajar, as if waiting for her. She pushed it open. The air was still, the closet was bare. The wooden hanger dangled empty. She touched the wall where the uniform had brushed for 12 years. A faint line in the wallpaper marked its place. Across the room, the old mirror reflected a woman she almost didn't recognize. She untied her apron, folded it, then tied it back on. Some things you don't stop doing. She pulled the door almost closed, not locked, just resting against the frame. Downstairs, the lobby was quiet. She picked up her broom and started sweeping, the same motion. The same motion, the same floor.
But now I know what a $5 bill can really buy.
3 weeks later, a small package arrived with the morning mail. No fanfare, just a brown box and her name. Inside, wrapped in tissue, lay a photograph and a short handwritten note. For the woman who kept watch. Thank you for keeping his silence sacred.
So young, they were just boys.
She found an old wooden frame in the basement and slid the photograph behind the glass. She carried it up and set it on the lobby mantel, beside the framed photo of her own husband. Now 2 photographs stood guard over the rooming house, 2 stories of war and silence.
He was my friend. I'll make sure someone remembers.
She told no one. But every time she swept the lobby, her eyes found that sunlit face. Some silences are kept. Some stories are pressed into place, like the creases in a uniform. Months later, a young man with a duffel bag walked into the lobby, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on the 2 framed photographs on the mantel. He stared at the picture of the 2 soldiers in Vietnam, then turned to Maria.
That was a friend, a sergeant. He lived here a long time.
She told him a fragment about the uniform, the ironing, the general who finally found him. The young man listened without moving. When she finished, he looked at the photo again. He straightened his back, raised his hand, and gave a slow, silent salute toward the mantel. Maria nodded, her eyes wet. The young man picked up his bag and climbed the stairs. Later that day, she saw him through the window, standing at the bus stop, posture still like a soldier's. The photographs remained. The stories continued, pressed into the walls like steam into wool. Late one evening, with no tenants awake, Maria carried fresh linens down to the basement. The laundry room was warm from the boiler. She spread a pillowcase on the board and pressed the iron to its center. Steam curled upward like a slow breath.
Rest easy, Sergeant.
For a moment, the steam shaped itself into something that resembled a pair of shoulders, a collar, the suggestion of a uniform. It held for a heartbeat, then dissolved into the warm air. Maria smiled, not with sadness, but with a deep, quiet knowing. She finished the pillowcase and hung it over a drying rack. The basement fell silent again. Some creases never fade. Some debts are paid in iron and steam, week after week until the uniform finds its rest. And in that quiet room, a cleaning lady who had kept watch for 12 years turned off the light and climbed the stairs. Fade to black.